What's up, everybody? By the way, my weird ninja hand things, there's always a little bit of a delay when you push the button, and you never quite know when you're actually live, but it looks like it worked. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Old school 90s wrestling references for those of you guys who don't get it. I got a sick baby girl today, so we're going to try and keep this a little shorter and sweeter than normal, so you won't have to listen to me ramble. Max asked, are you running ads for your agency or you're acquiring clients organically? Yes to both of those, Max. This is my personal philosophy, and I'm not saying it's the only way to do it. There's a million ways to be successful, so I don't want to tell you like this is the only way, but I like to test organically an offer, and then I only turn on the paid ads when I know it's working. I don't like wasting money on offers that don't work. So that's always worked really, really well for me. But having said that, if your offer works on people, it'll work both organically and paid ads. And if it doesn't work on people, it won't work either place. So if you got the money to burn through, then I would suggest paid ads like right away. But if you're like me and you just like to be an old cheapskate, an old grumpy cheapskate, test it organically first. And then when you know it works, then you can turn on the machine. Peter or Petar, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. It's Peter with an AR. Anyone here run a $30K a month agency? If so, what are some of the issues you continually come across? Peter, I wrote about this pretty extensively in my book, 5 Stages of Agency Growth. This is high end to stage 2. Biggest thing is people and systems. Those are the things. And I'll tell you a big mistake actually people make is they're in too many niches. Like when you're first starting out and you got like 5 clients, you can have 5 different clients in 5 different niches and do custom work for all of them. But if you're trying to manage 100 or 200 or 500 clients, it cannot be done. I shouldn't say cannot be done, but it's very, very difficult to do if you're dabbling in too many things. So almost always you got to narrow it down to one offer, one niche, and then also build people and systems to deliver that like clockwork. If you do that, those are the things that'll get you to the next level. It's a little interesting because often getting through stage 1 is just brute force sales, but getting through stage 2 is not about brute force sales. It's about actually really tightening and shrinking your market. So that's the biggest thing. Yehuda, if you need to target agency owners and online coaches, how would you go about it? Yehuda, I've had a few people, especially Facebook ad friends, trying to do this. There isn't a perfect targeting thing. You can target the gurus in the space, but you're also going to need to call them out in the copy, like dear coaches or dear agency owners. And I would suggest, by the way, those are 2 different ads. I wouldn't try and target them both at the same time because, you know, even though they're probably the same in terms of all intents and purposes, they want to feel like they're special. Every niche feels that way. So. Rahul, our Facebook pixel is tracking less than 50% of sales since the last few days for our Shopify store. What could be the reason, Rahul? Very, very simple. iOS 14 has made tracking a nightmare for everybody. A lot of people are using Heroes. I don't know if you're at that expenditure level. I think it's like $1,000 a month. I don't use it personally, so I can't tell you anything. But if you're at that level, that may make your life a lot easier. Nate. Ad accounts getting shut down left and right, or is it just me? It's just you? No, I'm just kidding. Facebook's been on a tear for the last year. It's just not like this last year, and of course it's a pain in the ass. They don't tell you what you did wrong, and it's just flagged by an algorithm. I won't go into this too much because I just did a video today, and we've got a couple of videos on the YouTube channel, but the short version is appeal it, use the script we got. Second is get on some other platforms. Don't put all your eggs in the Facebook basket. And 3 is, regardless of which platform you use, you want to turn it into traffic you control, your own email list, and so forth. Michael, the biggest challenge I have right now is converting the high number of leads we generate for our fitness studio into showed-up trials for my fitness clients. I would absolutely love some expert advice, support on how to improve my nurture sequences, verbiage to increase booked appointments and show-up rates. I'll tell you the biggest thing that actually helped us. We had an issue with show-up rates in our agency, and I got this from a mentor of mine. We connected something called Slide Broadcast in Zapier, and what it allowed us to do is when somebody signs up, is then we could leave a voicemail message, like something personalized, more than just the email. And of course you can increase reminders and all those things and more verbiage, but just that personal touch of like, hey, it's Frankie, I'm calling you, just saw you booked an appointment. And the cool thing is between Zapier and Slide Broadcast, it took about 10 minutes from like to pass the information over. So we didn't call them instantaneously, so it looked like I just got the call and like, hey, I'm really excited to talk to you. And it goes straight to their voicemail, so you can leave that message. That made a huge difference in our show-up rates. Once we added that step, we went from like, we were having an issue of like 50% show-up rates. It went to like 95 plus show-up. So try it. It'll probably help you as well. Zaddy, how do you collect payments from clients? Why website do you create an account, or which website do you create? There's a typo there. Okay, which website do you create an account with or platform? I'm starting, and PayPal isn't friendly. Obviously, Zaddy, PayPal is probably the easiest one to use, but it sounds like in your case it's not working for you. The other option is Stripe. Stripe's probably the one most people use, I think. And as well, we use personally Stripe with Zoho payments. So if you're using recurring payments, Zoho makes that really easy. And I think it's free for, like, I don't know, a certain number of users anyway. So Stripe plus Zoho is my answer for you. Stephanie, I'm thinking of niching down, but I have doubts and I'm kind of scared. Can anyone give me some tips on how to find out if my niche is profitable? Well, it's pretty easy, Stephanie. If they're spending money in your niche, not just like in terms of buying marketing, but if the end customer, then there's a market there, and more than likely it's so. I'll tell you, I used to think that if you niche down, you're saying no to too many people and you're actually limiting your money, and it's actually in experience the opposite. The more you niche down, the more you'll become a money printing machine. If you're a generalist, there's 3 levels of positioning. One of those I call the generalist. And the generalist does a little bit of everything for a little bit of everybody. Then there's the specialist. And then there's which is like doing one niche. And then there's a level past that, which I call Cedric Celebrity Authority, where it's like you're a specialist, but you also have some celebrity status or authority status in that niche. And I found income-wise, the generalist to the specialist usually make about 4 times as much money making that jump. And then when you make the jump from celebrity or specialist to celebrity, your income goes up 4x. So the difference between generalist and the highest end is like usually at least 16 times orders of income. So I know it sounds a little scary niching down because it probably feels like you're going to say no to a lot of people, but you'll actually make way more money in the long run. My man, Oral. Feedback is appreciated. This week, a company owner contacted me. He's spending 7 figures on Google Ads per month and asked for my help. I'm a Google Ads consultant specialized on such whales. I jumped in on a call, and yeah, we're a fit. Sounds good, but not really. If I started working with him, that damages my agency scaling plans, as it will take away a bunch of energy and time. The agency is focused on dentists and similar folks, completely different vertical. Overall, having my freelance business running and building the niche-based agency at the same time is some sort of struggle for me. I'm currently doing both with not full power. That's why I asked myself, should I burn the freelance bridge in the near future to be forced to fully commit on the agency game? I can survive for a while financially if the agency will not work fast, but not for too long. What's your take on it? There's 2 ends of the spectrum, my man, and we've probably talked about this a little bit in some of our mastermind calls. One of them is like when you're broke and you're starting out, you don't have the ability to turn away clients. So if somebody shows up the door, I know it might not be a perfect fit, but you're pretty much saying yes. Like I know people say, oh, you got to niche down on all the things, but when you're starting, you just got to get some clients anywhere, anytime, any place. When you're running like 100 client agency, no is something you have to use religiously. You have this tiny, narrow scope, and if anything falls even slightly outside of that, you got to say no 100% of the time, because otherwise you'll start doing too many things and you'll get stretched too thin, and it just will not scale at all, or it'll make life miserable in scaling. And then there's a whole bunch of shades of gray in the middle, which is where you are. So I kind of look at the shades of gray like based on, how does it fit your short-term circumstance? So obviously one of the things is like, it's a whale client. How much would that benefit your pocketbook? Is that used to it? Secondly is I like to look at like, are there assets, things you can reuse between both agencies? Because if you're freelancer stuff, even if it's a different vertical, if you can like kind of tweak the landing page and use that, or to have an ad template you can use, you can make your life a whole lot easier if like things can be passed back and forth. And then is it going to be fun? Because you don't want to just look at like how much money you're going to get from the client as the total picture, because you got to look at what you're delivering from all of the timer things that we've talked about in our mastermind: the time, the identity, the money, the energy required, the reputation, because that's the total deliverable. And a lot of times what you'll look at is, what you'll find out is that the deliverable, if you're doing the whole thing custom, is actually not worth the money. But sometimes you'll find the opposite. Sometimes you'll be like, I have somebody who already knows how to do that. I can bring them in. So you kind of got to take it on a case-by-case basis. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but it depends on the spectrum. But having said that, if you get really strong, and we'll probably talk about this on the next mastermind call, but if you get really strong at your systems and processes, you can set up your dentist agency to scale without you and really take that to the next level. And so it might just be a little fun side project for you. Who knows? Max, if you were starting from scratch, what would I do differently? 3 things, Max. I think The biggest thing people get wrong is in the agency is just positioning their agency for who it's for. I would pick a broad niche, like whatever it was, and then I would find out whoever the $100 clients are in there, the $100 versus nickel. You guys have heard me talk about that before. I'd find out who the highest end, most expensive clients, and then I would figure out a new way to bring those people. Those three things would immediately make you stand out from everybody else, and you would be able to like get traction and scale like a whole lot faster. So that's what I would do differently. But it's taken me like 13 years, probably 14 years to realize how important that stuff was. So if you're not doing that already, don't be too hard on yourself. What tool are you using to manage social media, Alexandra? Just we have everything in Asana and our teams and our processes, but I'm not a big fan of tools in general. I try to do as many things without tools and software. Just 14 years of this, I got sick of learning new software, and then 2 years, 3 years later, it's obsolete, and then you got to learn more software. So I try and run my agency as lean as possible, which is why we actually make a lot of our sales with Google Docs and direct mail and things like that, because it's very low tech. And then, you know, the other benefit is, you know, people get their Facebook ads kicked off. What's up, brother PJ? Good seeing you. I was actually just thinking about like sending you another Loom video the other day between all the craziness of kids. But yeah, I try and run it without any software. So I don't know. I think personal connection is the thing that's missing. Everybody's trying to automate before they understand like who they're connecting with. And so I think connections first, and then automate that once you have it. Roshan, biggest red flags to look out for when signing a new client. I'll tell you, Roshan, there's two that I look for that are like giant red flags for me that are like probably not going to work together. One of those is if they've never advertised before and they're not like committed to doing their own marketing, then it almost always tells me that they're just not ready to do that. And that's cool. Like those people are cool, like, but they're not good clients in general. So that's first thing. And then the second thing is if they have a long history of things not working out with people and they have a whole bunch of people to blame. So they'll say things like, you know, I hired 5 consultants already, or I hired 5 agencies, or 5 of you guys, and they're all assholes and they all screwed me. What's different about you? Well, you're as much as you want to show that you're different, it's probably not all the agencies. Sometimes it is, but more often than not, it's usually them, right? Like if they get leads generated for them and don't answer the phone, then they blame the agency. Whose fault is that, right? So big red flag is like everybody they've worked with before is no good. JS. When you do everything right and you still get screwed over, how do you recover? I spent over 600 plus hours, a 24-page website, market research, written all the content, 16,000 words and counting, for them to try and steal all my work and not pay me. I don't know what to say, think, or feel. JS, I feel you. It sucks. I actually remember one of my first deals. This was before I even really had an agency. I was in college, and I was doing work with this charity, and they said something like, they were trying to build their own server, like to host their website. It wasn't like you could just go to HostGator back in those days, or 18,000 companies. They were trying to set up their own, and they got a quote for something like $6,000 to do it and to network all their computers together, and that was just too much money for them at the time. And I had a college buddy who said I could do that for like $800, and so we quoted him, and I made a little cut on that. And then what ended up happening is in the middle of the job, one of their guys changed internet providers and changed a bunch of settings, which basically screwed us over, and we had to start over. And so I remember talking to the company and explaining, like, hey, we're 20 hours into this job, and you guys said you would pay us hourly. Now we need to start over. And they said, hey, no problem. We understand. It's like, this is our mistake, not yours. Just go ahead, and we'll add those extra hours to the contract. Long story short, took us twice as long. We got to the end of the deal. And the guy, we said, I gave him a bill for the whole thing. And he said, oh, do you have that in a contract? And completely screwed me out of most of the money. I never even collected the original money we got. And I had spent all this time, twice as much time, and I got screwed by a charity of all people. So that was a hell of a lesson to learn out, that you can get screwed by a charity. And I'll tell you, though, one of the big things you learn from it is don't do all the work for free waiting for a bill at the end. If it's unless you're doing like 3 days worth of work. But I wouldn't do like, it sounds like in your case you did months and months and months. So that's a lesson in like get paid for the stuff you do. Secondly, like people are going to steal from you and screw you over the longer you do this. In fact, I remember at the peak of like running our Facebook ads in the lawyer space, which I'm not doing right now because I got banned on all my Facebook, 6 of them and counting. But at the peak of it, I think there were probably 7 or 8 people trying to copy our ads, like just like straight up stealing them. And it's a compliment in disguise. Like, it means like your stuff is worth stealing, so take that. It's a hard business lesson, and I feel for you, but you will recover. And so, I don't know, just feel like shit for a little while and then get over it and move on. But use it as a lesson the next time you structure stuff to kind of, don't treat people like they're going to rip you off, but don't work for free and do a shit ton of work and then wait to get paid at the end. That's just a recipe for disaster. Maybe if you're going to do a little bit of work, and then you can invoice after certain parts. So, hope that makes sense. And if you guys are not already following on YouTube, do so, because we've got some new cool stuff coming out. And that's all I got for you guys. I'm going to go take care of some sick baby. So much love, and may the force be with you.